You are in the right place at the right time. Welcome to TMC. Listen, tonight we have a star-studded cast. I'm going to tell you, just a star-studded cast. We've got Miss Carthesa Hudson. She's joining us tonight. We have Miss Jackie Shelley. We have Miss Tanisha Mazik. And I'll get a little bit deeper into the introductions. And of course, your host, Cornell Johnson. Tonight, the show is One Nation Under the Gun. One Nation Under the Gun. So we're going to go ahead and play our promo video. After we play our promo video, we'll be back with the podcast. Once again, we welcome you back to our show, One Nation Under the Gun. We've got a star-studded cast. We've got tonight. We've got Jackie Talbot Shelley, South Carolina lead of Moms Demand Action. We've got Carthesa Hudson, and she is the Kansas City chapter lead of Moms Demand Action. And we have Tanisha Mazik, a local business owner, with us here tonight. And we are just pleased as punch to have all these great people. And we're going to go ahead and start the night off with. Yeah, that's right. On March 16th, 2021, a series of mass shootings occurred at 3 spas or massage parlors in the metropolitan area of Atlanta, Georgia, United States, leaving 8 people dead, 6 of them women of Asian descent. Just 7 days, 1 week later, on March the 22nd, 2021, a mass shooting occurred at a King Soopers supermarket in Boulder, Colorado. 10 people were killed, including a local on-duty police officer. Several other officers were injured. The questions reverberating in our minds tonight is what needs to be done to reverse these trends. And we're going to start off tonight with the first question that I have is the Second Amendment. The right to bear arms was passed by Congress September 25th, 1789, ratified December 15th, 1791. The first 10 amendments formed the Bill of Rights, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This was more so based on a musket and not an AR-15. Isn't gun violence an infringement on the rights of American citizens? And does the right to keep and bear arms supersede the right to live? So I'm going to go ahead and start off with Miss Carthesa Hudson. I think she might have frozen. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes, ma'am.
It's unmute. Okay. Okay. But I was saying it's almost like a catch-22 because it's not that you want to infringe upon people's rights. It's just you want to have better laws and teaching people gun sense and how to I guess certain people that have guns, I mean, have better laws to where they can use them in the correct way. They can protect themselves, but also making sure that they are not put in the hands of people that are not capable of using them in the correct way. So, I mean, it's horrible, but it's what's happening today, and we have to do something. We have to do something to change that narrative of violence that's happening every day in our communities and all around the world. So something has to be done.
Thank you, Miss Hudson. Thank you very much. Miss Shelley.
Thank you very much. Ms. Kelly.
I hear an echo, right? On the rights of excuse me. Does the right to keep and bear arms supersede the right to live?
No. And we've had courts rule upon this lately, and everyone wants to focus on the Second Amendment and focus on the part where it says shall not be infringed, and that's what they are constantly quoting, and they're always forgetting the part about well regulated, and that's at the very beginning of that amendment. It's a well regulated militia. And so that's what we need. We need to regulate all of these guns. We need some common sense regulations in place. And that's what organizations like Moms Demand Action and Giffords and the Brady campaign are pushing for. We want some mandatory background checks on all gun sales. And so we feel like the right to live is more important. And if we enact these common sense gun legislations, then we're going to save lives in the process because we know that lives will be saved. And also, there's legislation out there where we could pass red flag laws that could take away guns from people who are potentially, could be a danger to themselves or someone else. There are a lot of things that we could possibly do instead of everyone immediately clinging to the Second Amendment and saying shall not be infringed. We need to focus more on the well-regulated issue of the Second Amendment.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Miss Shelley. Tanisha, isn't gun violence an infringement on the rights of American citizens? And does the right to keep and bear arms supersede the right to live?
It doesn't. Just piggybacking off what Miss Jackie said, the Constitution was written over 200 years ago. So that was a different time than where we are right now. So there have been amendments that have come in over the years, but like she said, that first part that says well regulated, that's what people are forgetting, and that's what needs to be emphasized, that it needs to be regulated. It needs to be some form of regulation with it, just like we were talking about the AR-15s and things like that. 200 years ago, yeah, it probably would have been good for them to have anybody to have an AR-15 in their house to defend themselves, because people were busting in homes, just taking over, doing whatever they wanted to do, if they wanted to take over a town or what have you. But right now we're in a different time. So I definitely think the Constitution needs to be amended. It's just getting everyone on board to get it amended to where it's regulated by the civil power. It still gives you the right to have certain things, just like hunting season has certain times of the year that you can hunt. That in a way infringes upon your right to bear arms, because you can't hunt deer outside of deer season. Otherwise you get fined and tickets and things like that. So having a gun outside of particular hunting seasons, that would make sense as well. You can't just walk around in the store carrying a rifle because it's hunting season. So there still needs to be some form of regulation as far as guns are concerned.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tanisha. Miss Carthesa, could you tell me a little bit of what your chapter of Moms does out in Kentucky?
Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Can you hear me?
Listen, yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
must be thinking about, I don't know why I'm thinking about Kentucky. Kansas City. Yes, ma'am. Kansas City.
Well, basically, for me, what I do is I'm a survivor lead in the Kansas City chapter. I just basically we help uplift the community, like other community organizations, wherever we're needed, speak at events wherever we're needed, and just basically try to infiltrate the community and do the best that we can to uplift and amplify the organizations that's already around in our community. So just teaching better gun sense laws, making sure that people are well educated. Like myself, I'm a survivor of gun violence, two-time survivor. My brother and my son was killed due to gun violence. So that's kind of how I got into the organization as a survivor. So basically, I just assist other survivors on what they need to do as far as counseling or whatever issues that they're having. I can help get the information to them and just basically spread the word. Like, no, trying to take away people's guns. We're trying to help teach people and inform people of, common gun sense laws, and also making sure that the guns don't get in the hands of people that don't need to have guns. There are, like she said, like Jackie was saying, better background checks as far as mental illness, people that have been abusive before. It's just a bunch of situations where people should not have access to those types of guns, or easy access to those types of guns. It should be better, background checks and better mental checks. And I mean mental health checks on people that are, in the areas that are trying to get access to guns. I just think if we had better laws in place and people had better common sense teaching or knowledge of how to use a gun, how to store a gun, who has the guns, who shouldn't have the guns, I think people would be more safe. It's just how, I feel, on the instance, and as I think everyone feels as a whole, as far as, gun safety. So.
Thank you, ma'am. Miss Jackie, could you tell me a little bit of what Moms Demand Action is doing locally, South Carolina?
Yeah, we have 10 local groups in South Carolina, and we work in our communities trying to support other organizations that are already there to just see what needs other organizations might have and just assist them. We work with domestic violence organizations, any organizations that are just working in the community, trying to work in food banks or laundry services. It runs the gamut of just anything that's providing a service to the community. We also try to educate adults about the proper way to store a gun if you do have a gun in the home, because so many children are finding loaded guns and unfortunately shooting themselves or someone else. It's a problem nationwide, but unfortunately it's a huge problem in South Carolina. So we give out free cable gun locks to anyone who would like one. And we partnered with the medical university to make sure that anyone who comes in for a well child check can get one through the medical university. And then we also, unfortunately, have to fight some really bad gun legislation that's at the State House right now. We have an open carry law that's already passed the South Carolina House, and that's going to unfortunately put our business owners in a very precarious situation if that does pass, because it's going to make a lot of people feel uncomfortable going into businesses where people are openly carrying. So we're hoping that the South Carolina Senate will stop this from passing. So we're going to be reaching out to small business owners to see if they would feel comfortable reaching out to their South Carolina senator to say, hey, this is a terrible idea and I don't support this, just so we can try to get some voices heard. And we also support survivors here, survivors of gun violence. My co-lead, Tisa, has her own support group. We are their voices because her only son was murdered and taken from her. So she works with the parents whose children have been taken and other people who've lost loved ones. And she is part of the Everytown Survivor Network too, just like Carthesa.
Thank you. And before I get to you, Tanisha, I was just on your site last night, and as I was on your site, it was like I was just engulfed with the grief, as I went through and saw the different family members, talking about the people that they lost to gun violence. And I have some people that I lost to gun violence too, but nothing as close as some people, because I mean it's like son, nephew, daughter. And it was just like surreal as you went through it. And it was so much grief. There were the bright spots as I went through, but it was so much grief. And I think that if a lot of the senators had to attend some of these funerals or had to, read some of these stories, then they would probably have a different take on it, because there's no way you can sit there and look and read these testimonies of these families and see their grief. And if you have a heart somewhere in there, if you're not the Grinch and it's two sizes too small, you have to feel something. You have to feel something, and you have to understand that you need to do something to make a difference. Absolutely. Tanisha, since Miss Shelley mentioned the open carry, how do you feel about that open carry?
To be honest, I'm tossed up about it. I think, number one, I think it's a bad idea. Only because having an open carry in the way society is right now, it's a bad idea, because the wrong person could just walk next to you and grab your gun off your waist and start shooting if they don't have a gun. So first and foremost, I think it's a bad idea. Secondly, if we were in a different time, maybe more progressively down the road, where there were stricter laws where people can open carry in a situation, it could be good. For instance, like you and I were talking, and I'll let the other ladies know, Valentine's this year, which was on a Sunday, there was a shooting at Northwoods Mall. My family and I were in the mall at that time. We just decided to go. It was my husband and I's wedding anniversary, and we decided to go, spend it with the kids at the mall. So we're at the mall. My husband and the boys are in the bathroom, and me and my two girls were just standing there, just kind of waiting in the common area for them to come out the bathroom. All of a sudden, gunshots rang out. And it stuns you at first, because I'm used to gunshots. I live in the country. I hear gunshots every day. It's nothing, because I know it's just some boys down the road shooting guns, or my husband's always had guns. He's been a hunter forever. So it's not a big deal to me. But when you're in a public setting like that, it stuns you at first, because I was like, oh my God, is somebody shooting in the mall? Like, it literally, I had to pause, and I was just like frozen for those few seconds. And it was only a few seconds. Once I realized, oh my God, somebody is shooting, you see all the doors start pulling closing their doors and pulling the metal gates down. So I turned around to grab my girls, and my oldest daughter ran right to me, but my youngest daughter ran off. So I had to send my oldest daughter after her to meet me at the exit while I ran down the hall to get the boys and my husband out the bathroom, because I didn't want them to come lollygag back into the mall and there was a shooting. So long story short, something like that, where in a public setting, there's guns visible to anybody, whether you've had your background check or not, with even, I mean, the slightest inclination that somebody that hasn't had their background check or something like that can just grab your gun off your waist. It's just, we're not ready for that yet. We're just not ready for an open carry to happen in South Carolina, especially in hot spots like Charleston and Greenville, where, I mean, Georgetown, where gun violence is ridiculous. You literally can walk into a corner store and get a gun now. So it's just, we're not ready for that type of stuff to happen yet.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And you know, I remember I have a teacher from the seminary. He used to always tell me, he said that the lock on the door is not for you, it's for the transgressor. And so it's for that guy that's the bad guy. You know, it's not for the, I have uncles that they had guns and they were soldiers and they were hunters. They hunted deer, but they were so serious about their guns. Let me tell you, my uncle was so serious about his gun. He did not play when it came to his gun, and he did not want nobody touching his gun. And he always had his gun locked, you know, because there were kids. We were kids, and you know, you just did not, you weren't going near his gun. And the bottom line is that I think that people that, and you know, we've got 4 responsible people here right now, but then the thing is the problem comes when these guns fall into the hands of people that have mental problems and they're not responsible, and they put us at risk. You know, they put us and everybody else at risk, and people incur loss that, you know, you can't change or turn that loss around. It's loss, and you're gonna have to deal with it. And I think that I absolutely think that if you have a gun, you're gonna use it. You know, I think that conflict resolution is gonna be thrown to the wind, and I think that, you know, where's the conflict resolution? Where you gonna sit down and talk a problem out? You know, or go about your business, because it's not that serious. You know, and I think that what we're seeing a lot of now is that when you find out the motives of some of these people, this guy snuffed out all these people's lives in Georgia, and he's saying that he has a sex addiction, and that he was trying to get rid of the sex addiction. You know, go jump off the bridge. Don't kill all these people. And I hate to be so crass about it, but you know, that's the thing. I think that it's too easy. It's too easily accessible for some people to get, and I think there definitely needs to be sanctions. It does. Guns do not need to be accessible to everybody. They don't need to be accessible to everybody. I think you have to be responsible to handle a gun. You have
And
to be,
piggybacking off of that, I think a lot of it starts with educating kids now, you know, because kids, they don't realize how powerful the gun is. They see what they see on TV and video games and things like that. And people have said back in our day, you know, because we saw Wile E. Coyote and you know, who was it, Yosemite Sam and stuff like that, that we're brainwashed and we're accustomed to that type of violence because we grew up with it. But that's not so. It's because I used to watch that stuff, but I don't have a gun. I don't carry a gun. I don't want to shoot people just because. It's all in how you raise your kids and how you teach them about gun education. So I think that should be a part of the school system now, teaching about guns. I don't think they do a good enough job teaching about gun safety and things like that, especially in these day and times back when Columbine happened. Gun education should be in the schools where they teach the kids gun safety and things like that. If you see a gun, don't touch it. If you do happen to come across something, let somebody know. You know, guns can kill people. So I think starting with the children, I mean, I don't want to say the teenagers and the young adults now are lost, but if we can at least break that cycle and start now with our children now, it'll help with some of the progression that we're trying to do in the future with gun control and keeping things under control with gun violence.
okay.
If I can interject, I want to say the thing is too, a lot of times people don't really look at the situation because it's not a part of their environment, or they don't see it as it as a threat or see it as a big deal, you know, because it's not affecting their environment. And just like I raised him, we thought we did all right things, put him in all the right situations, you know, tried to give him the best environment that we could. And he was in broad daylight on a phone with me, lost looking for directions. And he was shot and killed because someone was angry because he was driving too slow. And just like to go back to what you were saying about conflict resolution, you know, he's just driving down the street and someone's angry because he's lost or he's not paying attention or whatever, or driving too slow, and he pulls out a gun and shoot my son, and that's over. It's ended. It's nothing, you know, nothing we can do from that point on. So I think it's the problem is when people don't, because I mean I'm guilty of it too. Like I felt like a lot of times, like, you know, it didn't affect me. I moved from this situation. I'm not in this environment, but it opened my eyes up when my brother was killed 2 years prior to that, playing with the gun. And then 2 years later, my son killed in traffic, just doing everyday normal things. So it does affect you, and it doesn't matter where you're at or the environment you're in or you know, what you're doing. It can happen at any time because guns are so accessible to anybody. Anybody can have a gun, and we don't teach conflict resolution like we should. Kids don't understand conflict resolution. That's another reason why I started my organization after my son was killed. Teaching kids from young adolescents to young adult conflict resolution skills, you know, because I feel like the world doesn't have that in our lives today because it's so 1 to 10, just, you know, that fast. You don't stop and think, and you don't think about what you're doing. And if, you know, a mental illness or something comes into play in those situations, that can make it even worse. So that's why we really do need to come up with some type of, like I said, gun sense laws that can stop those types of things happening. Because I never thought it would have happened to me, and I was oblivious to it, which is not smart, but I was oblivious to it until it happened to me, and it changed my life forever. I mean, I can never go back. I can never get my son back, and his life and legacy is over because someone couldn't control their temper in traffic. I mean, that's crazy to me. It's horrible. It's really horrible. And there's so many people that live in a normal everyday life and doing the best they can for their children. You know, this happens to them on a daily basis, and something has to change. I mean, because I don't want anyone to ever experience what myself and my family's experience. It's a horrible experience, you know. And my son, you know, he's not here anymore, and my brother's not here anymore. It's very hurtful and scary.
I don't know what to say, Miss Cartisa. I just that's really heavy. It's so heavy,
Yeah.
you know, just, you know, lost. And you know, we've all been lost before. You know, we've all had times when we've been lost, and
Yeah.
you know, I'm 52 now, so you know, I'm not driving anything fast anymore. You know, so you know, just to think that could happen just from driving, you know, a little slower because you're trying to get your bearings is just is it's unbelievable. It's heinous, and absolutely, it's definitely a reason for change and for gun law change. Absolutely. Miss Jackie, did you want to say anything
Yeah.
along that line?
No, her story is just heartbreaking,
Yes.
and to think, I mean, we can all put ourselves in that situation, just like you were saying. I just, you know, the one thing about open carry that that we know is that, just like you were saying, when people are openly carrying, it makes the situation escalate from, you know, 1 to 10 so quickly.
Yes.
And it causes it, I mean, it's just openly intimidating to have someone openly carrying in front of you. And also, we know that the people who are openly carrying right now, the people that we see openly carrying on TV, are not, you know, people of color. They're not, you know, Black Lives Matter activists. They're not people who are fighting for clean water. These are people who are white nationalists. These are racists, and these are people who are stamping their feet and storming capitals because they feel like their rights have somehow been violated. And all they're doing is trying to intimidate people. So we see the way that the NRA and the gun lobby is trying to use these laws to intimidate people who are of different races. They're trying to intimidate Black people, and they're trying to intimidate anyone who isn't, a white male. So we see them passing Stand Your Ground, which is an incredibly racist piece of legislation, and only white people get off by using that as their defense. And now we see open carry being passed, and that's only going to be allowed for white people to carry. I mean, it's not going to fly if a group of Black people try to openly carry their gun. So we know, why they're pushing this legislation. They want to empower these white nationalists. And it's insane to me that they're going to allow these people to essentially storm the Capitol where they are. And I don't understand why they keep allowing these white men to have such power when they see what they do. They go to King Soopers and they shoot people, and they go to spas and they shoot people. It keeps happening over and over again. I mean, it's always the same gender and the same race who does this. So let's stop blaming, mental health issues, because it's not anybody else. It's not women who are doing this, and women have mental health issues too.
And just to piggyback off of that, so to let you guys know something that happened today, actually, Jackie, I know you're from South Carolina, but I don't know if you're familiar with Somerville. So there's an area called Lincolnville. There was actually a guy that he saw some Black teens. He didn't know what they were doing. He said they were speeding in his neighborhood. So he decided to follow them, and he blocked them in a cul-de-sac. And I don't think the article said he was brandishing a gun or anything at that point, but he basically blocked them in. It was a whole reminiscence point of the Trayvon Martin situation. So the young man in the car called his dad and was like, "Hey, this white guy is blocking us in. We don't know what to do. We're scared." So they called his dad. His dad came and kind of de-escalated the situation. But later on, come to find out, the guys were just going to the basketball court. It was just a bunch of Black boys in a car going to the basketball court. But the white guy felt threatened in his neighborhood and said they were speeding, although he's not a cop. He's just a regular white guy in the neighborhood. And he just decided to take it upon himself and block these guys in and try to figure out what they were doing and just intimidating them. So later on, they checked his Facebook page, and he was exactly what you were saying, one of those guys that carries an AR-15 just because he wants to. And more than likely, he's just going to get a slap on the wrist. Nothing is going to happen to him, although this could have been something way more than what it was. This could have been another Trayvon Martin situation. And that's where something needs to happen. So I'm a part of this Facebook group where one of the activists, Justin Hunt, he's trying to get some big stuff to happen. And it needs to, because that could have been a whole, if that was my son, I would have gone 0 to 100 real quick, because it's just not fair. It's just not fair, and it's not right.
Yeah.
So something needs to happen. Some stuff needs to change big time.
That's true, Tanisha, because that, like you said, if it was your son, that was my son. A 45-year-old white man. My son was actually driving my husband's car, and it was right after the election. He was driving my husband's car that had an Obama sticker on it. And the guy was an obsessed supporter of the opposite side, and he just took it up on himself to tell my son he was, driving literally minutes after I get off the phone with my son. That's what happened to my son. And, as soon as he got caught, first thing he says is, "I was in fear for my life." My son hasn't ever had a fight in his entire life. The least violent person in the world, but that's the excuse he used. And it turned into my son being shot in the head, and they're saying he could have possibly had a gun and threw it down. How? Right. How could that happen when he was just shooting, and it made him the victimizer instead of the victim. So you know, and again, like she's like earlier when Jackie said, it was a 45-year-old white man. He felt the need to get upset with my son, say this and this and that, pull a gun out and shoot him, and then say, "Oh, I'm scared. I was in fear for my life, and I was standing my ground." And my son had no weapon at all. He had a cell phone in his hands on the steering wheel. Life gone. So yes, it does. Something has to change. It's just it ruined my life. So, you know, and this is every day, every single day. So I am that mother. And I felt hopeless because it was like, what can I do? At that time. Now I know, you know, but at that time I felt so hopeless because I didn't know what to do. You know, it's these laws and their fear, like you said, like she said, their fear of a older white gentleman saying such and such and such. And then here's my son, 19 years old, black with dreadlocks, and he's a threat. So scary, very scary.
Oh, God, these people are really crazy.
Yeah. Yes.
They are. They are. The AR-15 assault rifle has been a common denominator in some of America's deadliest shootings. It possesses an enormous amount of killing power because they can inflict what one of their designers called maximum wound effect. These weapons are generally able to fire far more bullets at a faster rate than manual action hunting rifles. This is Lindsey Graham. I own an AR-15. If there's a natural disaster in South Carolina where the cops can't protect my neighborhood, my house will be the last one that the gang will come to because I can defend myself. Lindsey Graham. That's a senator, Miss Hudson from South Carolina. So now, of the last 80 mass shootings in the United States, an AR-15 assault rifle was used in 26% of the shootings, including the recent shooting in Boulder, Colorado, that left 10 people dead. My question is, should the AR-15 and all assault rifles be banned?
Yes, most definitely. I mean, it's too much power. I feel like what do you need an assault rifle for? You know, for? I mean, that's just my opinion. It's just too much power in one person's hands, and I think it should be banned. That's my opinion.
I definitely think so. There is absolutely no reason, especially not Lindsey Graham, where an average person should have an assault rifle. I mean, it makes no sense because
Definitely.
even in that statement you just read from him, he said a natural disaster and then turned around and said gang. What does one have to do with the other? He definitely should have been voted out, in my opinion, a long time ago. But of course, because South Carolina is such
Yes.
a red state, it takes all of us to get together to get some of this stuff, this old-fashioned thinking. He's got to get out of there for one. But yes, I think the AR-15 should be banned. There's no reason, even a hunter. The whole point of hunting is to provide food. Even if it's a sport, why would you want to shoot a deer with an assault rifle with all that power, all those bullets, and you're trying to save it to either get it
Right.
taxidermied or you want it to mount on your mantle or whatever the case may be? Why would you even need all that power, even as a hunter? There's absolutely no reason the average person needs an AR-15.
Miss Jackie?
Yeah, obviously the AR-15 and other tactical rifles are a huge problem. They pack way too much power for a civilian to have, and there really is no purpose for a civilian to have it. The only issue is I think gun manufacturers are going to find a way around it because there's so many ways to alter these guns so that you can add bump stocks and other things to them to make them have a lot of firepower. So I don't think that just banning the AR-15 is like a one-stop solution. I think we're going to have a multifaceted approach, probably limit ammunition and magazine capacity is probably also a really feasible way to go. But unfortunately, America has 450 million guns in circulation right now. That's more people than America has. So unfortunately, we have a lot of AR-15s already out there. Of course, we're not going to go and take them away from people, but we have to consider, that there are a lot of those out there. So I think we have to start limiting the magazine capacity so that those people can't get their hands on massive amounts of ammunition.
Absolutely. I do so agree. I read somewhere where someone I saw, as a matter of fact, from your site, I saw a commercial that the veterans made, and they were saying that there's no reason why civilians should have an AR-15 because they talked about how it was commensurate to the M5, their rifle, the M5, and they mentioned there's no reason, and unless you're going to be fighting a war, you don't need an AR-15. Absolutely not. You don't. You can't shoot a deer with it. It's going to destroy the meat. So I mean, you don't need it, and it just like I said, if you do have it, it may give you, they just like they say, Red Bull gives you wings. It's going to make you feel like you have more power and you can go out here and actually do something that you're not supposed to do, or like with these guys that are going in these places and killing people, in such a quick order, and we don't need to help them out. Long, the Georgia spa killing shooter, purchased the gun, a Ruger AR-556 pistol, on March 16th, the same day he committed the heinous act in Georgia. What difference would a background check or a waiting period have made in this situation? And I think I read something where you guys said background checks save lives. Ms. Hudson, what difference would it have made in that situation?
Okay, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
I feel like it would have made a big difference, a lot, because I mean, if he had any prior issues with the law or anything, we would have known if he had a deeper background check. I mean, it shouldn't be easy for him to just go access a gun like that. I feel like a background check would have made a big difference if they would have known more. I mean, anybody shouldn't just have a gun. And I like Jackie was saying earlier, it may not be mental illness. It may be, like I said, something weird or something going on, or some type of violence that he's had previous in his life. I don't know, but I think background checks make a big difference.
Miss Jackie?
Yeah, especially in states where they have, red flag laws or extreme risk protection orders. There could have been something in his background that would have prevented him from being able to complete that purchase. In states that have a waiting period, they have lower rates of gun violence because if someone's got to wait to get a gun, then they're going to cool off and not go out and shoot somebody. They're going to calm down and hopefully the situation's going to resolve itself. So in South Carolina, we don't have a waiting period, but we do require a completed background check. The shooter at Mother Emanuel, his background check did not get completed on the first day, but there's a law in South Carolina that there's 3 business days that if it's not completed, then the seller can proceed with the sale. So unfortunately, he decided to continue his rampage, but I still think that in a lot of cases it's going to save lives. So, hopefully someone can see someone in trouble, they can intervene. A lot of people who are contemplating suicide, it could possibly help. And suicide is the number one, killer when it comes to guns. So I think it could potentially save a lot of lives.
Thank you, Miss Jackie. Tanisha?
Yeah, I think having at least the background check will slow down a lot of, multiple time offenders from getting their hands on a gun. Um, I think it probably won't happen in my lifetime. It probably won't happen in my children's lifetime, but I think eventually it will happen. I think there will be stronger gun laws. We just have to keep fighting, because as long as we keep fighting and we keep voicing our opinions, things will change, things will happen. It does take time, and a lot of the people that are in office now, senators and our mayors and governors and things like that, they still come from a time where people of color didn't mean anything. Their lives didn't mean anything. So I think eventually it will change. And the reason I say that is because a lot of times it's us that's getting killed. Everyone has been affected by gun violence, whether you're black, white, green, yellow, purple, it doesn't matter. But I think for the most part, the stuff that we hear is more, one, black on black violence, and two, racial violence against black people or people of color. So I think eventually it will change. Background checks will help slow it down, definitely. Like she said, will help against the suicide rates and things like that. Mental health checks, that will slow it down, definitely. So it'll take time, but having this stuff put into place now, it'll help in the long run. So we just got to keep fighting.
Judge Andrew Hartman recently overturned an assault rifle ban in Boulder, Colorado, just last week, on assault style weapons and large capacity magazines that had been imposed after the 2018 Parkland, Florida school shooting. Do you think that Andrew Hartman, well, he did it, I said just last week, but it was before this happened. I just read the article. Do you think that Judge Andrew Hartman should be held responsible for overturning this ban and for what happened recently in Boulder, Colorado?
Yes, I think so. I feel that this it's just like that. That's where our vote matters. People like that need to be voted out. When you see these types of things happening in your community, when they do things like that, they need to be gone. They shouldn't be there. I mean, we have to use our voice as far as voting to get those types of people out of office. They should not be there, because I mean, it's crazy. That's insane. So yes, I think we need to hold him
Definitely. I
responsible.
mean,
We
and
need to
that
hold
goes
him
back to what I was saying about people that hold offices now. They come from a different time. They're just not. They're not upholding the standards that we need to see right now. They come from a different time. So definitely he should be held accountable, because had he not overturned it, possibly may have had a different outcome.
Yeah, yeah. And he needs to go. And we need to exercise our right by getting him out of there. The people.
Miss Jackie, you agree?
I definitely agree. I don't think he's doing his job. I mean, a judge is supposed to uphold the law, and the Supreme Court has ruled that the Second Amendment is not limitless, and he took his own feelings and interpreted it the way that he wanted to. And I think that he should be held accountable. And just recently, a few days later, the Ninth Circuit Court in California ruled that jurisdictions could actually vote to have where you couldn't have open carry and things like that. So obviously he's wrong. He was in the wrong, and he should be held accountable.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. here in South Carolina, after what happened in Boulder, Colorado, because of what President Biden said, and because they feel that there's going to be backlash, federal backlash. South Carolina has tried to institute. They're trying to institute a law where everybody is a part of the militia, or all the gun owners are a part of the militia, so that when the federal regulations come down, uh, it will not affect South Carolina. And this is the kind of foolishness, the kind of stuff that it just makes me, it makes me say that it doesn't matter, what amount of carnage and all these names. Today when I was making this video and I put those names up on that video, it was like surreal. Put up those 18 people's names, you know, and I just said to myself, all these people lost their lives, within 7 days of each other, all these people. And it just makes you, it's kind of sickening when you stop and you think about it, because, somebody went to the grocery store, pick up some, coffee, you know, pick up some coffee, or somebody went to the grocery store to work that day. A couple, I think a bunch of the people were employers, of the grocery store, or over in Georgia, people just working, just doing their job, and this befell them, and so it, I don't understand. I don't understand how it doesn't touch a heartstring or affect these people. The NRA must own the GOP. I read that somewhere today. And it makes you feel like that, because I don't know what it is, but it seems to me that you just have to be basically heartless to see everything going on and not want change, not want some kind of change. So, ladies, I'm not gonna keep you all night, because this has been a great discussion. But my question now is, where do we go from here? And I know that Miss Hudson, Miss Shelley, you guys are doing this every day. You guys are doing this every day, and so for me and Tanisha, so that maybe we can spread, um, do the same thing you guys are doing, or help. Where do you go from here? How do people reach out and join your organization in Kansas City, Miss Hudson, and your organization, Miss Shelley, here in South Carolina?
You can just text 64433, ready, or, and say, hey, I'm ready, or we have a website. But the best way I say would go by texting 64433 if you want to be a part of the movement.
Okay. But I just felt that I needed to have this show tonight, especially 18 people, and I guess, for you guys, it's horrific and it's surreal, but it's kind of like the grief that you deal with every day. And it's the stuff
Yeah.
that you deal with, one person, one mother at a time. And I salute you. I salute you for what you do. Any closing remarks, ladies?
It's like Carthusa was saying, if you text ready to 64433, anywhere in America, we'll connect you to your closest moms group. And here in South Carolina, if you want to get involved, if you want to reach out to me, you can email me at South Carolina at momschapterleaders.org, and I can, see how we can work together in your community. I know that a lot of people are already working in their communities, and we're not going to come in and, you know, take over. We just want to support you and see how we can work together and just try to make a difference. And maybe we can bring you some gun locks. Maybe we can, you know, tell you about our survivor network. And you can meet, you know, great people like Carthiza, and just we're all in this together, and we're just going to keep fighting until we see some change.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Just don't stop. I mean, if you see an opportunity to put yourself in a position where you can have a voice, because we all have a voice, even in instances where I feel like I didn't have a voice, I do. I mean, your voice matters. So if you see an opportunity to speak on it, or you have a platform to just spread the word, I say spread the word, you know. And like she said, you can reach me at Cartisha Dillard, CARTHESA, at gmail.com. If you have any questions or want to be a part of anything, or text 64433. Ready.
Well, any way
Don't
I can
stop.
help, any way I can help, this platform is always open to Moms Demand Action. You know, just let me know. Have you back anytime. I think you guys are doing a great thing. Really, just think you're super brave. And you know, I thank you for coming on and sharing your story. No, it was laced with a lot of pain and angst, you know, a lot of anguish. But I just pray that God gives you a peace that surpasses all understanding. You know, that's my prayer for you.
Definitely.
And definitely, that's my
Thank
prayer.
you.
My prayer for you, also, Miss Shelley. And I just thank you tonight. And Tanisha, did you have anything you wanted to say?
I just want to say thank you to you ladies. You definitely are in the front of it. I'm definitely going to reach out myself. I want to definitely join the organization. I'm working on some other community projects in my area where, like I say, I think it starts at home. I think the kids, especially, I mean, even my own, they see too much on TV and try to bring it into real life. Mine, thank God, aren't into guns and things like that, but we've taught them because, like I said, my husband is a hunter. He has guns in the house, but they're locked up, they're put away, they're not loaded. It starts at home. So I definitely want to do more community work in my own community and start with the kids at home. My kids see on TV, they think kids are supposed to take vacations every day. So that's where my kids' heads are. But a lot of other kids in other households, I've seen gun violence is part of everyday life. So I definitely want to do more and start with the kids. I mean, I wholeheartedly believe if we can start at home with the kids, the future will be way better. So I'm definitely going to reach out to you guys, and thank you so much.
Well,
Look
once
forward
again,
to it.
we just want to thank Miss Carthiza. We want to thank Miss Shelley for coming on tonight, Miss Tanisha for taking time out of your busy schedule. My friend Lisa Gale says, text ready to 64433. That's my good old friend El
Yep.
Izzo. She says, text ready to
Yes.
64433.
Text ready. Definitely.
And to
If
all
I
of
can leave
you,
you guys with one more thing,
please.
I'm sorry. I say one thing before we go, just to put this on the hearts of people. These two, this is my son Chris. This is my brother Jemai. I just want everyone to know they matter, and all the lives lost beforehand and after their lives lost, they matter. So just want to leave that with you guys. Their legacy mattered, they mattered, and we can do something if we all work together to make their lives matter, because they do matter. Thank you guys for
Yes, they do.
Thank you so much. And thank all
you.
of you for tuning in tonight. Have a wonderful night. Until next time, we'll see you later, guys.
Okay.